What's going on, you rascals? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. I appreciate you. If you guys like the Tobin and Leroy radio show, got a new one coming up 10 a.m. or on every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. live. You guys can watch us live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Miami560WQAM. You guys can get the best of clips from that day's show on the WQAM YouTube page. Also, got a new Porpoise pod coming out. Me and Solana, some final previews, some final thoughts going into Dolphins and Niners there as he is heading out to the West Coast. He's going to be out there with the team. Mike McDaniel put him on the list. And so he is out there. He is out there for these next two games. So happy traveling to Solana. And hopefully he enjoys himself out on the West Coast and sees a couple of Dolphins wins. Last night, we had the Buffalo Bills beat the New England Patriots in a true bore fest. It really felt like nothing was happening in that second half of that football game. It felt like the Bills held on to the football for as long as they wanted to, and it was just a methodical drive down the field, air out of the football, and they end up beating the Patriots 24-10 in a pretty bleh game. But I think the funniest thing out of all of it, honestly, was Mac Jones freaking out because Mac Jones was, berating his coaching staff, his sideline, where he's like, pass the effing ball, the run game stinks. And I think it's hilarious because, a couple reasons. One, let's not forget Chris Sims. I believe he ranked this man 11 spots higher than Tua Tagovailoa going into this year. Also, people were saying that he is the better Alabama quarterback. Also, let us not forget that he was ranked 85th in the league as far as players are concerned. Old Ocho Stinko, Mac Jones. So all that stuff is hilarious. And I'd love to have sympathy for, hey, doesn't seemingly have a lot of weapons. His big acquisition this year was Devontae Parker, who, gets no separation and is very big durability questions. And is, basically had one amazing year. Amazing is even, I think, over-characterizing it because I think his best year Tyreek Hill did in 9 games here this season. And he's got Matt Patricia calling his plays, who's been a defensive coordinator all his life. I would like to have sympathy and say, oh, that's a lot of tough things to overcome there. Mac McCorkle. Unfortunately, people hose down Tua because he had Chan Gailey. People hose down Tua because he had 3 offensive coordinators. So I guess as we say around these parts, them's the breaks. Sorry, Mac. As far as the Bills are concerned, them getting that win yesterday, Stefan Diggs, it looked on Twitter. There was a clip that went viral from Dolphins Twitter, and it looks like he says, I want the effing Dolphins. I could see where it was said this kind of just took off like wild. It's one of those things on Twitter that just took off like wildfire. And I was like, I'm not sure if he said that. I mean, I can see where people think that he did say it. I just think it's a weird thing to say when they're not playing the Dolphins next. So I wasn't positive that he did say that. And Stefan Diggs did actually reply to the video, and he says, I know this is probably what you wanted me to say, but let's not lie, okay? Thanks. So Stefan Diggs is denying that he had said, I want the effing Dolphins. That he is not thinking about the Dolphins 2 weeks ahead of their game. Which, look, I love a good troll as much as the next guy. Trust me. I love stirring the pot. I did that this week basically just based on a Raheem Mostert quote and Deebo Samuel putting out laughing, crying emojis. But when I saw this last night, I was like, I don't think he's saying that. And he's denying it. So Stefan Diggs is not out here saying that he wants the effing Dolphins. And why would he? He knows what's coming for him. Stefan Diggs knows what happened the last time they played the Miami Dolphins. They were handcuffed. And they lost that game basically having the ball once again the entire game and still couldn't win. Look, this isn't going to be Mac Jones when the Bills try that bull bleep where they try and play ball control the entire time. Go ahead and play ball control. Miami Dolphins, when in the time they're going to have the football, are going to go score. That's just what they do. So, of course he doesn't want the Dolphins. Why would he say that? So what he's basically telling you there is that's a crazy thing to say. Why would I say that I want the Dolphins? Of course I don't want the Dolphins. So very interesting thing there from old McCorkle that there was no trash talk there saying that he wants the Miami Dolphins. Going into this game, as we focus in on the San Francisco 49ers, Teron Armstead did not practice on Thursday. And it is interesting to note that when Mike McDaniel, and I'm taping this before he speaks on Friday, so I don't know, and they did travel out there. They are traveling out there. But it is interesting to note that Mike McDaniel did not flat out rule out Teron Armstead playing. He did pretty much do that with Austin Jackson and said, I would not expect him to play. He did not want to say that directly when it came to Teron Armstead. So do with that what you will. I am leaning towards he's probably not going to play, but I don't think that we could look at the injury report and say anything. Now, people will say, well, he hasn't practiced all year. That's not necessarily true. He has started practicing. He did not practice early on in the season at all because of the toe. But then he did start doing practices on a limited basis, and he started doing limited practice on Thursday. He'd always take the the Wednesday vet rest day to get himself back into shape. It's usually a walkthrough anyway. So I do look a little into, he didn't practice. Now, Teron Armstead's a different beast. He has still, at times this year, played without practicing. He's not necessarily that guy who, if you don't practice Thursday, you don't practice Friday, you're not playing. He doesn't go by that set of rules. But I don't think it's a good sign that he didn't practice. It doesn't necessarily imply a definitive answer because Mike McDaniel didn't want to give a definitive answer. I would look more into Mike Jones. I would go more into Mike McDaniel's demeanor and tap dancing around, wanting to rule him out almost more than him not practicing. But him not practicing is not a good sign. It's obviously not a good sign. So, the Dolphins are going to go into this. It's going to be interesting how they handle, Nick Bosa, that entire defense, which has looked amazing. Have the streak going and not giving up any points. 4 straight games, I think, without any points in the second half. That's an unfortunate streak that's going to end. I don't know what to tell you. The one thing I'll say is I do think that they'll be in a better spot this week with the knowledge that if he doesn't play, they've probably known all this week that he's not going to play. And because of that, I think whatever way they go about putting that line together, they will have better preparation than they did last week. Because remember, you had the bye week. You're putting in Austin Jackson on the other side. The line didn't look fantastic as a healthy unit as it was last week with some of the moving parts, as is certainly not what they look like against, Cleveland and their run there. And I don't feel like I'm misdiagnosing how good that line was because I feel like Houston's a much worse team than the Cleveland Browns are. And you look at some of the guys that Cleveland has as far as a pass rusher threat is concerned. Now, San Francisco is a much better team than them. I understand the concern. I'm just saying, me personally, having the time to prepare for no Teron Armstead is much better than you're dropped out of the sky and you are already working some new things on the line. And now Teron Armstead's gone. At least from this standpoint is, all right, you're not working back to Austin Jackson. Guys can kind of go back to where they were. And from that left tackle spot, at least you'll go in with the knowledge. I just feel a little bit better about it. I don't think it's going to be the catastrophe everybody is making out to be if Teron cannot play. I think that they can manage. I think because of the speed that Tua gets rid of the ball, having both of your running backs back is going to help a lot too. So I'm not all doom and gloom just because Armstead doesn't play. Obviously, I want him to play, and if he does, I'll be doing the sans pants dance. But I'm not at the point where I'm quivering if he's not able to go. So the other thing that we got to really check out is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill's chase for history. Is he still within grasp of getting to the NFL record, of course, set by Calvin Johnson? Can he break that mark of 1,946 yards? It's still possible. Right now, he leads the league by a yard over Justin Jefferson. He's certainly had 2 of his slower weeks from a yardage standpoint the last 2 weeks. He's at 1,233 yards right now. Justin Jefferson's at 1,232. And then, Stefan Diggs got his game in last week. So he's about 30 yards behind now. He crossed the 1,200 mark. The thing that is very impressive, first of all, with Tyreek Hill is, mind you, this is all being done where Jalen Waddle is, probably half away from catching, from crossing the 1,000-yard threshold. So the Dolphins are going to have 2,000-yard receivers in probably the midst of a half, I would guess. That's really incredible because everybody thought that, you bring in a Tyreek Hill, you bring in a Jalen Waddle. How are you going to get both of these guys the football? And they both feasted. They both absolutely feasted and have done tremendous things. But right now, as it stands, with 6 games left, Tyreek Hill has 713 yards to go. So you're talking like 119 yards per game to get to that mark. 128 yards if he wanted to be the first guy to reach 2,000 yards. That would obviously be cool. So not undoable. I think that we have seen him throw up some pretty monster performances this year, and it's I think going to be a little bit tougher because that we may be going into some tougher conditions. But I think that one of the things that's interesting about him is I think he's always going to be there. People are going to try and game plan to take him out. Even Kyle Shanahan acknowledged this week that there's a lot of fast guys in this league. This guy's just different. He's just absolutely different. And so you think about where the Dolphins are from this standpoint is, maybe he's still up. It was a pretty incredible pace that he started off this season with. But, I think from this standpoint, there were definitely some opportunities last week that weren't as crisp as they have been in past weeks. I don't know what that had to do with maybe not having as balanced a game. Maybe that had to be with the idea of, teams are starting to try and neutralize. Tua talked about this week, trying to neutralize what they're doing from their explosive play standpoint. And you're starting to see other guys feast. You're starting to see the River Craycraft step up, the Trent Sherfield step up, touchdowns to Durham Smythe. Like the wealth is getting spread. We've seen this a little bit more over the last couple of weeks. It doesn't necessarily mean that the production's gone down because Tua's numbers have stayed up. It just means that people are going to do their damnedest to try and take out the cheetah and try and put the clamps on this chase that he has. But a couple things, like he's his career high is 1,479. And I would say that's still very much in reach for sure, no doubt about that. And he is 7 yards away from passing his totals from last season. And that's pretty crazy because everybody talked about, what's he going to do down here? How is he going to be able to function happily being with Tua, not Patrick Mahomes? And look, Patrick Mahomes is still doing fantastic, but so is Tyreek Hill. He is doing fantastic and really can get to that point where what everybody was talking about last year, and I think he's like 3 or 4 yards over his average per catch this season than he was last year. He to maybe catch that mark by week 13, pretty awesome from Tyreek Hill. So that'll be an interesting thing to check out. Can the cheetah keep up with the chase? Can he keep pace with history to have Calvin Johnson's record within grasp? I think that's been an interesting thing to see over the last couple of weeks because he was crushing the field as far as league leaders were concerned, and now there's been a little bit of a gap close there. Certainly with Justin Jefferson, there's a very, very close gap close there, but I still think it's crazy that he's doing this with Jalen Waddle on his team, nearly having 1,000 yards already. Like, I think like Hawkinson doesn't really count for Minnesota because he's been there for 2 seconds, but so like Adam Thielen has like 500 yards. So all of the production is really going to Justin Jefferson. Think about that Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill are basically neck and neck this season, and Tyreek Hill is 1,000-yard receiver almost on his team aside him. That's and has it in 12 weeks. That's nutty. That's some nutty stuff from the cheetah.